Graham here with you on BBC Radio WM. It is 3:45 on Thursday, the 8th of June. Now, my next guest, this is for, if you are familiar with sickle cell, people with sickle cell disease say they're facing racial and socio-economic bias during treatment. There are currently up to 15,000 in England living with the life-threatening blood disorder, which is particularly common in people with an African or Caribbean family background. The charity Plasma of Hope says patients complain their quality of life is poor because of pain and fatigue, while 7 in 10 miss work or school because of it. But they say health professionals do not fully understand the condition and do not treat them with the care and respect they need. Marie-Claire Kofi is CEO of Plasma of Hope, and she joins me on the line now. How are you, Marie?
I'm fine, Natalie. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for coming on board this afternoon. First and foremost, tell us all what it's like living with the disease.
Well, it is very challenging living with the disease. Living with sickle cell means, for me personally, I am always in pain. I am always very tired. I am always having concerns about my family. Worrying about me. I'm always worrying about the next time I'm going to have a painful sickle cell crisis, if that is going to be the last one, if that's going to be the end. So most of the time we have this anxiety because we're different, you know. We're always in pain, and the pain can be very severe, and that takes over your life. And it's something that we need to talk more about, because a lot is not being said about sickle cell disease.
And how hard is it to actually get on with life for yourself and those who suffer, as opposed to those who are able to live a more normal life?
Yes, it can be really tough, because what you tend to hear across the board, you know, for people living with sickle cell is that life can be very difficult. Personally, and for most people that have sickle cell, every aspect of our life is impacted. You have children missing school, and you can see from the reports, the SHAPE survey and No One's Listening report, that a number of students, a number of people miss at least 3 months of school. A number of people miss work because of painful sickle cell crisis. I have had so many instances where I am not able to go to work due to not feeling well, due to being in hospital for so long. And as a result of that, everything about your life is impacted, especially financially. And that has a massive impact on your mental well-being and that of your family.
And why do you think there's so little understanding of this particular disease?
Well, I think it's because we're not talking more about it. We're not creating enough awareness. Even though we are creating awareness, a lot more still has to be done. There needs to be a lot more understanding and willingness to learn about sickle cell disease, especially in the healthcare sector, especially across the country, because I come across people that have had difficulties getting their employers to understand making adjustments because they suffer with sickle cell disease. I've had instances where the benefits office is not understanding how to make adjustment or providing the space for people with sickle cell to apply for certain benefits, because sickle cell doesn't tick some of the boxes in this benefits application. So it's very difficult for people with sickle cell to feel inclusive in every aspect of life. And you can see from the reports that people don't feel comfortable going into hospital because we don't feel understood.
Now, I've got to ask as well, because my background is Jamaican and Irish, so I'm of mixed heritage. But when many moons ago, I was telling Charlotte, my producer, that I had an ex-boyfriend of mine. He carried the sickle trait, and he was really conscious at that stage, if we were to ever go on and have children, whether or not it ran in my family, just in terms of obviously being concerned about passing on that particular gene to youngsters. I mean, you're explaining to us how it feels for you as an adult. How must this be then? Because you must come across people who have children who actually suffer with sickle cell.
That's correct. I do come across a lot of people through the charity, through my personal interaction, that have children that do suffer with sickle cell, and that is the concern. A lot of families are worried about having children that have sickle cell disease, and this is where it's important to raise this awareness and get people to talk about some of the concerns they have, because what I believe is to let people know the consequences or the effects of having a child with sickle cell and some of the things you have to put in place. Personally, I do not go against anyone leaving a relationship because they have found their status. It's important for people to know their genetic status, their genotypes, and then they can then make an informed decision, an informed choice on how to go ahead. Because all we can do is to educate and create awareness. I live with sickle cell, I always say, but sickle cell doesn't define me. So families can get a lot of support as long as they are aware of how to deal with the situations that face them.
Marie-Claire, I have to thank you for your time this afternoon. I think it is something that needs to be spoken about a lot more. And as I said, I was unaware as well that there wasn't necessarily the kind of support out there as there is for some of the other conditions that people have. So wishing you all the best with your health. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. You take care.
Thank you for having me. Cheers. Bye.
That was Marie-Claire Kofi, CEO of Plasma of Hope. Coming up next, we're going to be hearing more about the latest Davina McCall documentary.
The sound of the weekend in the West Midlands.
Sunday evening
with Nikki Tapper.
Here on the show, we like to talk about stories and issues that impact the African and Caribbean community.
What's your best way to do work with health inequalities in black communities?
Started to understand just how many black people were living in social housing, which is a huge disparity.
Were you dropping a foot there, Johnny Paul and Estelle?
Yes, I was rocking side to side. Of course I was.
Nikki Tapper.
Sunday evening from 8
on BBC Radio WM.
Again, I have to thank my previous guests. Coming up for you now, here's Aswad with Don't Turn Around.